So thank you for being here at this time. 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Difficult if you have some party yesterday. Today we will present you our presentation about Google Apps Script. I don't know if some of you know about these tools that is created by Google. Can you? Oh no. Merci. Tiens. Oh. Okay. Ah, c'est bon. It's okay. Non, c'était pour tu. Okay, nice. Okay, we'll start. So I'm Nicolas Kovacs. I work at Kovacs Lab as a team leader for on the cloud team. In the past, I was a pen tester for 10 years, and I work at some company like Sogeti, Telindus, and Digital Security. The night I'm doing some bug bounty when I have time, and some long time ago, I have a blog. I don't know if you know it, Les Tutos de Nico, but I stopped it some times ago.
Hello everyone, so I'm Sébastien Rolland. I've been working at Kovacs Lab for 2 years now in the cloud team.
Okay, so about our presentation, we will start to define what is Google Apps Script, how to deploy an app script, because we will see when you use Google Apps Script, you need to deploy some script and create and develop some script. We will talk about the authorization part. It is really important because it's because this stuff that we can make some attack. And we have 6 different scenarios to present you. And we will continue with 2 demo. It is recorded one, so because we don't want the demo effect. And to conclude, so what is Google Apps Script? Google Apps Script is an application development platform that was developed by Google. This platform, and when you create some script, it can interact with your Gmail environment or Google environment. For example, I think all of you have a Gmail mail address and use Gmail and Google Drive, for example, or this kind of stuff. And in fact, when you create script, you can interact with this application. And when you are on the company part, you don't use just Gmail, you use, for example, GCP or Google Workspace. But in fact, it's pretty the same, so except they have more features, more things when you are on the company side and you use Google Workspace. But in fact, Google Workspace, it includes Gmail, Google Drive, Google Docs, etc. So when you have a Google account or a Gmail account, you can just go to script.google.com and start to create a Google Apps Script and to use the Google Apps Script. Use Google Apps Script and start to develop some scripts. It's a JavaScript stuff, a language you need to use. There is a lot of documentation and APIs that you can use to help you to develop some basic or advanced scripts. It's based on V8 JavaScript engine. Before it was a Rhino that supports the Rhino engine, but no, I don't know, but I think actually just V8. There is a lot of class and methods that are available. For example, you can use base64 encode, base64 decode. You can use fetch URL to make a request on the web part, etc. So you have a lot of methods that you can use on your script. There are a lot of built-in support. For example, you can, with some method, just, for example, I don't know, read an email on your Gmail account. There is some methods that you can use to perform this kind of action. And there is import library features. For example, you create a script, another one, you can just import another script to another one, etc. So it's really complete. So how to deploy Google Apps Script? It's pretty simple. You just go on script.google.com and you can just start to create a script. For example, here we have a function that is defined hello, and we make some log on hello GreHack, and you can see on the on the bottom there is hello GreHack, so it's a really standard script. You can use a more advanced script, just a decode base 64 a string, and you have hello GreHack on the bottom too. So yeah, here is a really standard script. It's important to know that on Google Apps Script, you can deploy your application, in fact, as a web application, an API application, an add-on, or a library. And you will see that when you create an application, for example, I don't know, a script that will, delete an email. I don't know if, for example, you want a script that deletes an email, you can do it and deploy as a web application. And when you access this application, it will generate a trigger to delete a specific email, for example. So you can do a lot of things like this, and how you deploy, it depends how you deploy the application. Yeah, when you have deployed the scripts, you have an URL that is created by Google, that is a unique URL with a unique ID. The ID is pretty long, so it's not possible to brute force it to find other script or other person. So yeah. And there is another way to deploy a Google an app script. And in fact, when you use Google Sheets or you use Google Docs, you can just use the extension parts, and there is an app script. Why it is different? It is different because the script that you create is related to your Google Sheet directly. So you can, for example, here I make a request on GreHack.fr website, and I want the response of the server, and put the result on the A1 cells. So you can have the result here. So it's pretty simple script. And it is important to know that when I do the script, and we launch the script, it is executed by Google inside server side. So it's important to know because, in fact, you use Google IP address. So if you perform some scripts that make attack on a web application, for example, you can use Google IP address, and it's not yours. So. And just for information, I make a test. I perform 1,000 requests just to check, and in fact, I just have 164 different IP addresses on the 1,000 requests. So it's interesting that you know that you have a lot of IP addresses that belong to Google that you can use. When you deploy a web application, for example, on the Google Apps Script, you have a unique URL. I showed you earlier here. And in fact, you can just, when you just have access to it, it's wait for post or get request. You can perform a get or a post request, and you have some function, some arguments that you can use. For example, you can perform a do get or a do post, wait for a request, and analyze your URL to retrieve the information that you pass on the get or the post request. So you can use some parameters to retrieve the information of the request. So if you make a post request with a lot of things, you can just retrieve a lot of all the things, in fact. So it is really, in fact, interesting. And another stuff, there is triggers. Triggers, it is really interesting because, in fact, you can just put some triggers that is a function that is automatically executed when you want, for example, because if it's a time-based triggers, or when you perform a form, you fill a form and you post it, maybe your script will just launch a specific action, in fact. You can have a change triggers and email triggers. For example, your Google Apps script can just wait for a specific email and perform an action when you received. So if, for example, you make a script that will analyze your attachment of an email and waits for a specific attachment, and when you received this specific attachment, maybe, I don't know, move it to your Google Drive. So it's possible to perform this kind of action and perform it by a trigger, in fact. Okay, so there is some limitation when you use Google Apps Script. When you have a standard account, a Gmail account, for example, you cannot do, for example, more than, for example, we use URL fetch. You cannot use more than 1,000 requests. You can use more than, I don't know, file conversion, just 2,000 per day. You can not create more than 250 documents per day. But when you use Google Workspace, when you are a company, there is less limitation, and you can use more things, in fact. For example, on the triggers ones, you can just use 20 triggers by user and by script. And in fact, it's the same when you use Google Workspace. And another thing that is interesting, we just learned that Google have a Google Marketplace, and you have a lot of companies that create some script, Google Apps Script, in fact, and you can just download it and to perform some action, for example, on your Google Drive, on your email address. There is an AI email writer. There is a lot of applications that was created by a lot of company, and that was available on this website.
So if you want to do a bit more than showing basic 64 strings, like for example, interact with other Google Workspace applications, you'll need to share some permissions with Google Apps Script. So how to do that? Google actually parse your source code looking for built-in methods that are under the hood linked to authorization scopes. If it detects that your script needs some permissions, it will show you a bunch of dialogues. So the first one is in the left, so it tells you that your script needs authorizations. Then you need to select the Google accounts with, that you want to continue with. After that, if you're accessing an application of another user, you'll get a big warning that tells you that Google has not validated the application and it may be dangerous for you. So in order to continue, you have to click on advanced parameters, and then you can continue. And finally, you have to review the permission that your script needs, and you can accept or deny it. So this is always true. You always get a big warning like this when you access someone else's application, except in one case. So let's make it simple, and let's say there is only two different Google accounts. There is personal and regular user accounts and enterprise accounts. In a company context, if an employee A publish an application and an employee B access it, there is no warning. So this is because Google judges there is a bond of trust between users in the same company. So this is interesting, mainly when you know that when you publish your application, you can specify as who the application is going to execute, meaning whose workspace will be used. So in this example, you can select either that the application is running as the owner, you, or any user that accesses the application. After that, you can select who can access the application, so either you, any user that has a Google account, or anyone. We also create a script in order to parse the Google Marketplace, looking for all the applications and enumerate all the authorizations they ask, as you probably cannot see on this screenshot. So there is a table where we show you the most asked permissions and also the most dangerous one. So in November 2023, we saw that there was more than 2,000 applications. All of them are asking for your email address and your personal information, so it is mandatory. A bit less than one half is asking to connect to an external services. A quarter is asking to show, modify, create, and delete all your Google spreadsheets. A bit more than 300 is asking to run in your absence or view and download all your files in Google Drive. And after that, a bit more than 100 is asking you to access your domains group. 22 want to view and manage your domains organizational units, and 2 of them ask to create and update Google Apps Script projects. So I advise to really trust the author if you want to accept that. So of course, all of this can cause security issues, and that's why a company asked Quarks Lab to investigate on Google Apps Scripts and ask us if it was possible to exfiltrate the data using Google Apps Scripts, even if some tools like cloud access security brokers were present. So from this request, we elaborate 6 scenarios in which there is either intentional exfiltration or a user is tricked into accessing a malicious application and he set up. So the first scenario is very simple, very straightforward. It is an intentional exfiltration. So a malicious employee creates an application using an external account. So the application only contains a form that you can use to upload documents, and the documents are uploaded into the attacker Google Drive and sent by mail. So how does it look like? In the top, you can see the form with the Google logo. In the bottom left, there is a Drive folder with all the uploaded documents. And in the right, you have a mail that is sent. On the right side, you have a very simplified control flow graph of the application. So each time a file is uploaded, we are searching for a folder by name. So we are searching Drive Uploader. If it doesn't exist, we create it. Then we use the binary content of a file we received to create a new blob. Then we register the file on the drive, and then we send the mail. In the second scenario, this is very different. This time, we have to set up an employee. So this is basically a phishing attack. Once he accepts to share the permissions, the script will list every file that his drive contains. After that, the files are transformed into byte array. They are compressed, encoded in base64. Sorry. Then the base64 string is divided into 50,000 chunk of characters, because this is the limit of spreadsheet cell. and then it is saved into a dedicated column. After that, a second application that runs as the attacker does the exact opposite and recover the files from the basic 64 strings. So at the end, the attacker gets a new folder in his drive named after the victim, and he gets a copy of the files. So this scenario is very powerful, and it leaves almost zero trace, but it does have some limitations. The first one is that under the hood, Google actually converts all the files into PDF if it is not a picture or video. So if it doesn't know how to convert the file into PDF, it can't be exported. Plus, there is a limitation on the weight. We can't export more than 80 megabytes because it is the limit of Google Sheets spreadsheet. So that's why we elaborate a third scenario that is almost the same, but does it very differently. So this time, when the user accepts to share the permissions, the script lists all the files of his Google Drive and change the permissions of the files to make them publicly available. When it's done, the spreadsheet of the attacker is filled with all the links of the files in order to download them directly. So at the end, the attacker gets something like this. So in the first column, there is the name of the files. In the second, the date. The third, the weight. And the fourth column, there is a direct link. So there is no more limitations on the weight of the file tabs. However, this is a lot noisy because for each permission you change, there is a notification in the user timeline that say that some permission has been changed on the files.
Okay, on this scenario, you develop the victim access a Google App Script as those scenarios, and all the documents on the Google Drive are exfiltrated the address mailbox. In fact, it's like the other scenarios when you just exfiltrate the Google Drive documents to another Google Drive documents. Here, it's just you take all the documents on your Google Drive victim and send all the files on a mail address, in fact. And here again, there is some limitation because you cannot there is a limitation about the size limitation. So it's applied by GAS, so you need to check if you want to, I don't know, you have a file, maybe you divide it into blob to send it. You can do this kind of stuff if the document is more than 50 megabytes. On this scenario is pretty different because on the other scenarios, it's more than you use Google App Script to perform some action, and the victim access your application, accept it, and at this moment there is some attack. Here it's different because it is executed on a computer of a victim. In fact, our customer that want to make this mission want to us just to verify if on a computer of this company it is possible to exfiltrate data and use Google App Script to exfiltrate the data, but not just by accepting a link and as a phishing scenario. So we create a script. Here is a PowerShell one, but you can do it in any language. And in fact, what the script do is just list the file on your file system, encode all the file using base64, apply XOR, and send chunk of 50,000 characters to Google App Script, for example, or on post or get request. But I think we use post one. And when the Google Apps Script receives the chunks, will just forward the chunks to a Google Sheet directly. On the attacker side, he will just access the Google Sheet, so he has the chunk of the file and just can reconstruct the file on his side. Here is an example, but we will have a demo on this. We develop a script. You choose if you want to send just a specific file or to send all the file on the file system or specify a specific extension to exfiltrate. If you want to apply XOR, yes or no, and yes, you can see on the Google Sheets part that there is an exfiltration of test.docx document with the content. And on the attacker side, he will just have a script that connects to the Google Sheet and takes the base 64 that is XORed and apply XOR again and decode and reconstruct the file. On the last scenarios, I talked earlier about triggers. And in fact, we just use some triggers to perform scenario. For example, just to verify, I don't know, Sébastien presents you that we make a scenario that modify all the permission of all the files on your Google Drive, for example, to permit to access to everyone. And imagine there is a victim that creates a new document on the Google Drive. At this moment, the file is not accessible because you didn't change the permission. And in fact, if you put some triggers, you can just, that is executed every morning, for example, at 8, and at 8 a.m., you can just apply a new modification of all file on the Google Drive of the victim, and at this moment, it will change every day all the permission and that is applied on the files of the Google Drive victim. And it works. And in fact, the triggers on all the scenarios that we demonstrate on this presentation, the trigger works. So yeah, here is a trigger that based on the time, for example, that will execute at each, I don't know, 8 a.m. every day. So yeah, we will show you 2 demos, recorded one, of course. So I let Sébastien just launch the first one. So the first one is about it's the 5th scenarios when the victim executes a malicious script on his computer and not on Google Apps Script. So, yeah, thanks. So is a MDP docx with a password, for example. There is the PowerShell application. If it's an attacker, there is no text, etc. But for our demo, there is some text to show you what an attacker can do. So we take the mdp.docx file. We want to XOR it. And on the back, there is Google Sheet. So we just send it. You see that there is the document that is exfiltrated with the best 64 that is XORed. And imagine you are on the on the attacker side. You have another script. You make a script that retrieve the information that is filled on this Google Sheets. There is the attackers retrieve the mdp.docx.qbb, etc., and apply a decode, and he retrieves the document. All this by using, in fact, Google Apps Script. And on the second one, I will let Sébastien. Oh.
Okay. So on the second one, this is a demonstration of the second scenario where a user has to be tricked into sharing his permissions, and all his files are exfiltrated. So on the left, we have our attacker account, and on the right, we have our victim accounts. So we can see that our victim has some files in his drive. So he has some pictures and some very important files, his passwords. So the victim accesses the application. Then the first dialog appears. We have to review for some permissions. Then we have to continue with Google account. And as the application has not been validated by Google, we have a big warning. So we need to click on advanced parameters and then to continue to access the application. And finally, we can review the permissions the application is asking for. So basically, it asks for to access all the files in the drive and to connect to an external service. Once the user has accepted, this is too late and too bad. In the background, the script is working. So from our victim side, nothing really changed. But on the attacker side, there is a new folder named after the victim, which contains a copy of the files of the user. So to conclude, Google Apps Script is a very powerful tool that can automate the many tasks within Google Workspace's applications. However, as we just saw, we can use it to perform some attacks because there is a lot of other Google services that are used within companies. It can makes it difficult or more difficult for blue teams to detect it. As well as security tools like cloud access security brokers that are often blind to those attacks. So we have some suggestions for you to consider. As you saw, there is a lot of our scenarios that are based on phishing attacks. So what we can say is to continue to educate employees about phishing. You can also restrict the use of Google Apps Script within the administration console of Google Workspace, and or limit the use of some specific methods or functions. And at the end, you can also monitor requests to script.google.com or appsheet.com.
There's little bonus. Just for information, we talked earlier about the fact that an application can do a lot of things. And in fact, you can, I don't know, if you want to test some XSS on a website, really basic XSS, for example, there is EC cuckoo script, and you just want to retrieve this information on the response. And you can just do it by using Google IP address, because you can just use URL fetch. So it's pretty easy. And I think you can imagine other scenarios. It's really simple. Sébastien talked about Google App Sheet. I don't know if you know what is Google App Sheet, but Google App Sheet is a service that can help you to create a mobile application without need to code it. It's just based on I want this, etc. And it's related to your Google Sheet. For example, you create a sheet with your bills, etc., or some statistics. You can create a mobile application by just 3 or 4 clicks. So, and In fact, the Google App Sheet can integrate and use Google App Script. So you can use Google App Sheet to perform some exfiltration, and this works. And the last one is about the admin SDK directory service. We talk when you are a company, you have, I don't know, you can have some domain on Google side, and in fact, you have some API that you can use to perform some search or perform some action on your domain. So you can, for example, list a user, list the group, add a domain admin, etc. So in fact, if an admin click and accepts your application, maybe it's possible to perform some actions on the domain of the company. So thank you, everyone, and if you have questions, do not hesitate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the talk, Nicolas and Sébastien. We have time for some questions. If people in the audience have some questions, raise your hand and I give you the mic. Yeah. Yes, one question here.
Hi, thanks. Did you check inside the Google Workspace part what kind of logs are generated in the audit area and things like that? What kind of traces does the company have if they want to do some instant response looking after like 2 weeks after, 1 month after?
A good question. In fact, when we do this mission, we do it on our side and not on the company environment. So we do not have access to the Google Workspace environment, but our customers say there is some log you can have, in fact, on the Google Workspace part. So yeah, you have some logs, and like Sébastien said, you have some. You can use some API limitation to, for example, just I don't want on my Google Workspace on my user to accept scripts that will perform some URL fetch. I don't know, or other API or methods that can be used.
Okay, second question. Yes, I give you the mic.
Thank you for your presentation. You mentioned that in some cases where the account is the same company, there is no warning from Google, but are there warnings regarding permissions?
Yes, there is always a warning about permissions, but you have not all the warning before that. That is not a validated application, etc. You have just, for example, when you download on the marketplace, because the application are validated by Google, you can just have just the warning about the permission, and you need to accept it, in fact. But when you see, it's like on mobile application, when you see that, okay, this application can access to your data, can access to your file, etc., maybe you just, okay, it can access, but the application will not access it. But in fact, this one, when your application, you create an application on your Google, on the company, there is no warning like this. Just this one, in fact, yeah. And so, and it's the same on the Google Marketplace application. You have just this this one. So if you push an application on Google Marketplace, you maybe, you can do bad things, in fact. And like we say, there is a lot of application on Google Marketplace that use bad permission. For example, access to all your files on your Google Drive. So if you install this application, it can access, of course, on all your files.
Okay, so let's thank again the speaker for the nice talk.
Thank you.